Vanakkam and Namaste. Ashwini Kumar, Law Minister in the Manmohan Singh-led Congress government between 2009 and 2014, quit the party on February 15, 2022. I say, good riddance. Kumar quit the Congress after being in the party and enjoying all the benefits it offered for over 40 years, saying, there comes a time when you can't take any more. Mr. Kumar, what is that you can't take any more? Why don't you specify the thing that you can't take any more? I understand your words as meaning that you can't accept anymore the fact that you are without power and the consequent benefits and perks that come with it. You said that you foresee the Congress going downhill in the foreseeable future. When did you realize the Congress going downhill in the foreseeable future? If you realize this fact now, then I have serious doubt about your political acumen and wisdom. I realized this in 2014 when people like you in the Congress were unwilling to contest the Lok Sabha elections. The Congress is going downhill since 2013 with relentless attacks in the media against a party, but Kumar was hardly seen in TV debates defending the Congress. He would hardly be recognized by one or two in a group of 100 common people. This is the true picture of Mr. Kumar. You said that the Congress doesn't seem to be reflecting the mood of the nation. Is this one of your reasons for quitting the party, Mr. Kumar? By the way, when did you come to know that the Congress doesn't seem to be reflecting the mood of the nation? And what did you do to make the party reflect the mood of the nation? I wrote a scathing 3-page letter to the Congress unit in Goa on January 14, 2022, listing its sins of commission and omission, the causes of its ruin. I suggested a measure to prevent desertion of its MLAs, which the Goa unit accepted and implemented before the elections. I am an insignificant person to the Congress, yet the party accepted my suggestion. The acceptance of my suggestion by the Congress directly contradicts your claim that Congress doesn't seem to be reflecting the mood of the nation. The fact is that you do not know what the mood of the nation is. You therefore cannot tell the leadership what the mood of the nation is. I am sure the Congress leadership is ready and willing to reflect the mood of the nation, but it is ignorant people like you are keeping the party leadership in the dark. Kumar hints that Rahul Gandhi is not acceptable to the people, but he doesn't tell us who would be an acceptable leader. When Rahul Gandhi resigned and asked the party to choose a new leader, why did Kumar nor any other leader not choose one? Grabbing that opportunity, Kumar and others could have created, to use his own words, transformative leadership and revived the Congress. Having failed to discharge his duty to the party vis-a-vis, failing to create a transformative leadership, Kumar has no right to state that Rahul Gandhi is not acceptable to the people. Despite their shortcomings, Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka are the only Congress leaders known and acceptable across the country. Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka can win an election from any state in the country. This cannot be said even of the Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Modi cannot win an election from Tamil Nadu. In fact, in the 2020 Assembly elections, the BJP candidates in Tamil Nadu for fear of losing the ADMK traditional votes, did not display the lotus symbol and Modi photos during their campaigns. Despite riding piggyback on the ADMK, the BJP won only 4 of the 20 seats allotted to the party. Kumar would not tell us who the acceptable leader is, nor would he do anything to make the projected leader acceptable to the people. He is a man who wants everything on a platter without putting in hard work. He did not deserve the positions that the Congress bestowed on him when the party was in power. In his resignation letter to Sonia Gandhi, Kumar wrote that his decision to resign from the party was consistent with his dignity. Does that mean staying put in the party going downhill in the foreseeable future would be inconsistent with his dignity? These are lofty words designed to camouflage his character. By these words, Kumar means that the Congress is not a dignified party anymore. When did Kumar realize this? Was the Congress a dignified party when it was in power and all sorts of corruption allegations were leveled against it? Why did he accept the law ministry when dozens of corruption allegations were leveled against the government? Was accepting the law ministry in a government that had many corruption charges against it consistent with the dignity of Mr. Kumar? If this is not hypocrisy, what is it? Being a minister in a corrupt government was consistent with the dignity of Mr. Kumar, but a membership in a party going downhill in the foreseeable future would be inconsistent with his dignity. Kumar is not a fish in a pond, but a seasonal bird that flies away when the pond dries in summer. If Kumar is honest, he would have written as follows: sharing the fate of the party going downhill is inconsistent with my dignity. Mr. Kumar's talk of pursuing public causes inspired by the idea of transformative leadership is a joke. What is the kind of transformation he is talking about? What did he do in the Congress for the last 40 years to promote his idea of transformative leadership? When asked whether he would join the BJP, he said, "I would like to categorically state that there is no decision as yet. I may not even join any party," and he felt no hurry to decide. The phrases "no decision as yet" and "may not" are very deceptive. These phrases do not mean do not or will not. And "feel no hurry" means Kumar has 2 years until 2024 to decide on joining the BJP. Kumar uses these deceptive phrases to hide his real intention for quitting the Congress. He will probably join the BJP after the assembly election results and get a plum job. I want Kumar to prove me wrong. He also said that the manner in which Captain Amarinder Singh was humiliated into resigning has not left a good impression of the Congress either in Punjab or in rest of the country. But what did Mr. Kumar do to prevent that? In my letter to the Congress, I pointed out this fact. But did Mr. Kumar utter a word against humiliating Captain Amarinder Singh? Why mourn his demise when you uttered not a word while he was being lynched? Dr. Kumar said, "What I am sticking here for if I feel so uncomfortable?" Kumar feels so uncomfortable because he sees the Congress going downhill in the foreseeable future and he doesn't want to go down with the party. For Kumar, the Congress is a sinking ship and he will not go down with it. It is that simple. According to him, the need of the hour today is for individual leaders to rise above their vanities and egos, ambitions and aspirations. Did Kumar help any of the leaders in the Congress to rise above their vanities and egos, ambitions and aspirations? Does he practice what he is preaching? Does he realize that the BJP is openly and blatantly weakening democracy in every possible way? And does he know that it is the weakness of the opposition that emboldens the BJP to undermine democracy? Is it consistent with his dignity to quit the party going downhill rather than work to salvage its fortunes for the sake of democracy? Did Kumar stand up any time in the last 8 years for issues affecting democracy and the larger public? Where was Kumar during farmers' protests? Where was he when the Pegasus scandal broke out? Did he or any of the G23 stand up and call out those attacking Nehru and Indira? Few days ago, while campaigning for his party in Goa, Modi claimed that Nehru delayed the liberation of Goa by 14 years. Kumar didn't utter a word against this blatant false narrative, nor did any of the G23. Does he not know that the Cold War was raging then, and a spark could have caused a war that India could not have been able to face? Does he not know that the larger part of Indian army was deployed in Kashmir and the Northeast? Does he not know that it took time to neutralize the threat of NATO intervention by getting the then USSR to support India in the UN Security Council? Does he not know that if it were not for the Cuban Missile Crisis, Goa would still be a Portuguese territory like Ceuta in Morocco? Does he not know that the Indian princely states for over 14 years were vying for independence? Consequently, does he not know that diverting military energy in the thick of crisis would have resulted in multiple rebellions across India? Will it be inconsistent with his dignity to tell the truth on the 14-year delay in liberating Goa? Did he any time fight it out with the BJP RSS compliant media against their massive false propaganda? Kumar is always late for the fight but early to share the spoils. But for the last 8 years, the Congress has been facing electoral defeats. As such, there are no spoils to share. Kumar, therefore, is naturally frustrated at not being able to share the spoils. Commenting on Kumar's exit, Ghulam Nabi Azad, Anand Sharma, Manish Tiwari and Bhupinder Singh Hooda said that Kumar's resignation shows the Congress needs to do a lot of introspection to find the cause of his exit. Do these leaders not know the cause of Kumar's exit? Do they not know that the party not being in power at the union is the real cause of Kumar's exit? Several Congress leaders say that they would not be surprised if the party implodes after March 10 if the assembly election results are not in its favor. One leader said, "You can't run the party only with some youth Congress people." All senior leaders are seriously disgruntled. We now know where the problem lies. It lies in the refusal of the old leaders to cede space to the youth. The old guard wants to stay in power till its last breath. Meanwhile, the implosion of Congress, if it does happen after March 10, it should be viewed positively because the exit of selfish, rotten, and egoistic elements will facilitate rejuvenation of the party. Congress will be better off without opportunists like Kumar. He didn't do anything to strengthen the Congress in the last 40 years that he was in the party. So, his quitting will not weaken the party. On the contrary, by quitting from the party, he in fact has created space for infusion of young blood. Opportunists like Kumar quitting the Congress would be good for the party so that honest youngsters can fill in the vacuum and rejuvenate the party. It is winter now for the Congress. Can its spring be far away? Thank you for watching. My name is Deva.